Today, we're going to do something a little experimental. We're going to take those very same complaints, those very same anxieties that you hear from these folks when they feel their beliefs are being challenged, and we're going to flip the script. We're going to ask the question, what if the shoe were on the other foot? What if Christians in America were the minority, facing the exact same pressures they so eagerly foist upon others? Get ready, because this is going to get hilarious, and frankly, a much-needed dose of reality. All right, so, scenario number 1. Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning in Congress. The gavel bangs, the discussions begin, and suddenly the chorus of moozins starts wailing from every corner of the chamber. Not just a quick little assalamu alaikum. Oh no, this is the full 5 times a day call to prayer. And not just a polite whisper. It's reverberating off the marble, shaking the very foundations of American democracy. Now imagine the reaction. I can already hear the pearl clutching from a mile away. The immediate outcry. This is an establishment of religion. This is an affront to our Christian heritage. My ancestors didn't fight in the Revolutionary War for this. We'd have indignant senators clutching their Bibles, demanding to know where the separation of church and state went. We'd have cable news hosts going into full meltdown mode, warning of creepy Sharia law and the end of Western civilization. And why? Because suddenly, their comfortable, assumed dominance is being subtly, or not so subtly, nudged. They're experiencing, on a minuscule scale, what it feels like to have a practice that's not theirs, woven into the fabric of public life. A practice that, by the way, is a fundamental part of Islam. But I know what they'd say. This is persecution. They're forcing their beliefs on us. Welcome to the club, folks. Welcome to the club. Scenario number 2. Public schools. Now, we all know how much Christian nationalists love them some Bible in schools. They want it taught as truth, as history, as the only acceptable moral compass. So let's flip it. Imagine every school day, before the ABCs kick in, all the children, all of them, regardless of their background or beliefs, are gathered for Muslim prayers. Not just optional, mind you, as part of the curriculum. The teacher says, "Now, class, let us all face Mecca and perform our salah." Oh, the uproar. The passionate emails to school boards, the impassioned speeches at PTA meetings. This is indoctrination. My child is being coerced. Where is the freedom from religion? And of course, the inevitable comparison to the oppressed Christians. They're forcing their beliefs on our innocent children. This is a violation of our rights. They'd be screaming from the rooftops about the Establishment Clause, about the right of parents to raise their children in their own faith. It's almost like they understand the concept of forced religious observance when it's their kids being subjected to it. Funny how that works, isn't it? Isn't it funny how that works? It's almost like they've never considered that their own push for Bible classes might be perceived the same way by others. But no, that's just teaching truth. When it's Islam, it's indoctrination. The double standard is so thick, you could cut it with a highly critical secular scalpel. Scenario number 3, the legal landscape. Imagine this. Instead of laws that vaguely reference Judeo-Christian values, whatever those are, the laws of the land are directly lifted from the Quran. Laws about charity, about family, about social conduct, all directly from Islamic teachings. And Christian beliefs? Well, they're nice to have. Well, not necessarily nice to have, but for some, they consider it nice to have, but they're not codified. They're optional. They're quaint relics of a bygone era, perhaps. The fury. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call while I'm trying to record. They're quaint relics of a bygone era, perhaps. The fury, the righteous indignation. This is unconstitutional. Our founding fathers intended this nation to be governed by Christian principles. We'd hear about the sanctity of Christian law, the divine right of Christian moral guidance to shape society. They'd be decrying the erosion of their heritage, the silencing of their voices in the halls of justice. And here's the kicker. When they're the ones doing it, when Christian beliefs are being woven into legislation, they call it reflecting the will of the people or upholding moral standards. But when it's anyone else's religious beliefs, it's an assault on liberty, a tyrannical overreach. It's a stark illustration of their inability to grasp the concept of a truly pluralistic society, where no single religion gets to dictate the rules for everyone else. It's this unwavering conviction that their way is the only right way, and any deviation is a personal attack. Scenario number 4. The holidays. Oh, the beloved holidays. Imagine Christmas, December 25th. The world wakes up, and instead of Merry Christmas, it's Eid Mubarak. The story of the Nativity is replaced with a retelling of the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. The carols are different. The decorations are different. The entire cultural consciousness around this day has been Islamified. And it doesn't stop there. All those other cherished Christian holidays, Easter, Thanksgiving with its pilgrim narrative, maybe even those niche saint days, they're just gone, erased, replaced by Islamic festivals. The cultural calendar has been fundamentally rewritten. The immediate visceral reaction from Christians would be one of outrage. They've stolen our heritage. This is an attack on our identity. They're trying to erase us. They'd be talking about cultural appropriation and historical revisionism. They'd lament their loss of their traditions, the suppression of their faith. And all the while, they'd completely miss the utter hypocrisy. they'd forget all about how they've done the exact same thing to pagan holidays for centuries, slapping Christian names and narratives onto solstice celebrations and fertility rituals. The irony is so thick, it's practically a theological paradox. It's this deeply ingrained belief that when they do it, it's spreading the true faith. When someone else does it, it's an act of oppression against them. Scenario number 5. The catchphrase, remember that phrase, X is the reason for the season. Usually after some snow-related mishap or a particularly festive sweater. But what if this year, everywhere you looked, the message was Muhammad is the reason for the season? Imagine the collective shudder, the awkward silence at family gatherings, the bewildered looks on children's faces, the immediate, furious reassurances. No, darling, that's not right. Jesus is the reason for the season. You'd have Christian media outlets dedicated to debunking this blasphemy, rallying the troops to correct the narrative. Every social media platform would be flooded with, actually, it's Jesus memes. And the sheer unadulterated offense. How dare they co-opt our sacred meanings? This is a deliberate attempt to delude our faith. They're trying to rewrite history. The feeling of being erased, of having your foundational beliefs trivialized and replaced, would be palpable, and it would be a crystal clear, albeit comical, demonstration of how it feels when your deeply held religious narratives are systematically marginalized. And finally, scenario number 6, education. We all know the fervent desire of many Christian nationalists to get their interpretation of the Bible into public schools. But let's imagine the tables are turned. Imagine in every public school there's a mandatory class called Introduction to the Quran, not comparative religion. Oh, no. This is presented as foundational wisdom, a guide to living a good life. The immediate backlash would be deafening. This is proselytizing. You're teaching my children a foreign faith. This violates the separation of church and state. Parents would be up in arms, demanding that their children not be exposed to, as they'd call it, non-Christian doctrine. They'd argue that it undermines their own religious upbringing and introduces confusion. And it's precisely this reaction, this protective instinct for their children and their beliefs, that highlights the core of the issue. When they want the Bible in schools, it's about heritage and morality. When others want their texts taught, it's about indoctrination and their erosion of Western values. The double standard, once again, is breathtakingly obvious. It reveals a profound lack of empathy and a stunning inability to see their own actions through the eyes of those who are different. So, there you have it. A whirlwind tour of what Christian persecution might look like if, for a change, Christians were the ones facing the pressures they so readily inflict upon others. And what have we learned? We've learned, or at least glimpsed, that the very anxieties they express, the fear of losing their cultural dominance, the concern over their children's religious upbringing, the feeling of being marginalized, are precisely the feelings that minority religious groups and non believers experience every single day in a society overly influenced by Christian nationalism. The constant cry of persecution from those who hold so much societal power is not just ironic, it's a performance, it's a deflection. It's a way to garner sympathy and justify their own aggressive attempts to impose their beliefs on the public square, in schools, and in the law. The First Amendment, with its elegant promise of religious freedom and the separation of church and state, is not a one-way street. It's not a tool for one group to gain an advantage. It's a shield meant to protect everyone. And when Christians, particularly Christian nationalists, demand special treatment to enshrine their specific beliefs into law or force their doctrines onto public school children, they are not being persecuted. They are actively engaging in the very kind of religious imposition that the Constitution was designed to prevent. This is about challenging the ideology of Christian nationalism, which is fundamentally unconstitutional and frankly deeply immoral in its coercive nature. It's about holding these groups accountable for their actions and for the glaring hypocrisy that underpins their claims of victimhood. It's time for some serious self-reflection on their part. It's time for them to understand that the freedom they demand is the same freedom that others deserve, and that imposing their beliefs on others is not a righteous act, but an act of oppression. So, what do you think? Have you experienced this kind of double standard? Have you seen the persecution complex manifest in ways that mirror these scenarios? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear your stories, your thoughts, and your hilarious or not so hilarious observations. If you found this discussion illuminating or just plain funny, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Kim McPhail podcast for more deep dives into reason and reality. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. Share this with anyone who needs to hear it, especially those who might be questioning their own beliefs or are tired of the same old arguments from the Christian nationalist playbook. Until next time, keep questioning, keep thinking, and remember, freedom of religion means freedom for all religions, and freedom from religion too. Stay rational, my friends. Bye.